Welcome back to another episode of the Work It podcast. I'm Gerald.
And I'm Nat. And you know what, Gerald? Real talk, I do not want to become a manager. But how else can my career and my salary still go up?
I think that question is something that many people always ask about. From my own experiences, I've seen so many people who they yearn for the promotion to be a manager, and when they get there, they realize that it's not quite the same.
Yes.
It requires a totally different set of skill set. They have to manage people, lead people, inspire people, and that's not what they are kind of cut out to do.
Exactly what I was thinking, because I have had a stint as a manager before, just a short one, right? A couple of years. I had been a writer for a few years, and I was thinking I was going to be a writer until my retiring days. But then I had an opportunity to take up an editor role. And as I became an editor, I realized that all the skills that I had picked up and honed as a writer, I was no longer using as much. And more of what I was doing was managing people, managing my writers, managing motivations, inspiring them, fixing their blockers that were in their way in the workplace. And it just was not what I thought editors did, and not what I wanted to do with my career.
And it definitely, at that point of time, would not seem like the money's worth it, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know about the money being worth it or not, but it was a nice addition to my paycheck for sure. But it is something that got me thinking, can I still progress in my career without having to become a manager? Because that seemed like the traditional way forward. But now I'm thinking there must be another solution.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's so important that we are able to see growth, not just upwards, but in some other form, right?
Yes.
So I'm really glad that today we've got someone on the show to talk to us about this.
Exactly. So to help us unpack this, we are joined by Ilja Rijnen. He is the HR Vice President of GEA and founder of The Talent Transformer. Welcome to the podcast, Ilja.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, both. It's very nice to meet you. And what you just described in your opening is the classical way of looking at careers. The higher I get and the more I get on the rock, on top of it, the more money I'll get and maybe the more happiness. But like you just described, you probably were not happier when you were leading. And actually, I think if I take one step back, what I think is really important in a career is the happiness it will give to you. If I look at myself, I was an HR director in a region. Did pretty well. I got lauded for the accomplishments I did. But it came to me one morning that I thought, is this giving me the most challenge and happiness? And I made, at that point, a move sideways. The funny thing is, sideways moves in a very classical way are often seen as maybe a step down or you're stalling.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're running from something as opposed to going towards something else.
But see it this way. Actually, I think it's about range. It's about depth you can give. And I think very important in careers, also when you're more at the start of your career, is not just try and look at the top of the rock, but actually what is the storyline? What is the leader I can, want, and need to be? Where do I get my energy? So what are the things I love to do and the things I can do? And what are the things I aspire to do? Look at you. You were an editor, you enjoyed it, but then you became a manager.
Yeah.
You maybe less enjoyed it.
A little bit stressed out as well, yeah.
Yeah. I like how Ilja is telling us a little bit about redefining the way we see the progression. It's not just an upward move, but it's interesting you linked it to challenge. You said challenge, happiness, your own personal desire, cutting across different roles of your life, not just in work, but in your family as well, your personal life. This is really like an enlightened view of a career, right? But yet, in our circle, in Singapore especially, many of us, we struggle to see this, right? Like, what are your thoughts about why people would find it a struggle to embrace that kind of a definition?
Yeah, and I think you're a great point. I've been in Asia for about 12 years. So I came here for work. I've changed roles a few times, always around HR and coaching. I find very often people here in Singapore, but also in China, also in some other parts, where they say, oh, I need to become that manager. I need that status. I need to prove to myself, to my friends, my family, that I can be a manager, that I can make a lot of money, and now help me get the job. It almost becomes a stressor.
Okay.
I think what is really important, though, is first of all to take a step back and look at yourself. What is my own story that I want to tell myself? What is it that I really like doing? And why do I say that? Because that's where your energy sits. So when I work with the people that I work with, whether that's at my organization or in my private coaching, I always ask people to put their job along a certain matrix. What is the things I can do? What is the things I can't do? What is the things I like to do? And what is the things I dislike?
Wow.
Can means, what am I good at?
Yeah.
What am I really good at? And like, I really love it.
Yeah.
That's where your energy sits. If an employer is going to hire you, if a manager is going to promote you, surely it's that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's also the things you maybe can do, but really don't like to do.
Yeah.
For me, for instance, very honestly, it's working in Excel or working with a lot of numbers. I can do it, but I don't get my energy.
Yes.
It's good. I mean, an employer will hire you for it. Don't get too much in a job. There's things you really like to do, but can't do yet. And this is where I would coach people on. But this is a very interesting one. So the things you like to do, but you can't do yet, that's your aspiration.
Right.
Employers love ambition and aspiration. But very important here is, do I have people around me who can actually actively coach me or mentor me on this? Because if you're getting too much noise, too much pushback while you're trying to get good at it, it becomes a dislike very soon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do want to maybe take a step back from a lot of the introspection that we've been doing right now and talk about the reality on the ground, right? Because I think what's on a lot of people's minds is, I can do a little bit of a sidestep, I can do a step back in my career, but is that going to lead to better pay in the future right now? What kind of remuneration problems am I looking at if I do this approach?
And the first thing I would unpack with you, if I were coaching you, I see that people, and I agree with you, in Singapore are very status driven, meaning the role title is very important, and the remuneration. I challenge that. I think remuneration, yes, it's important, of course, because without remuneration, it's hard to survive, to make a good living, but it should not be a key driver.
Okay.
Same as titles. Titles change all the time. Companies reorganize all the time.
Yeah.
What is really important is to understand, what is the value I'm going to add
for
the employer, but also to my own career, to my own path. And that helps you to to become really good. Of course, you need to be clear on what you like and how that translates into certain roles. But if you look at a career, if I look at my career did not start just somewhere at the foundation and went straight up. I've taken many side steps. And often that was to help me to get more experienced. If I can give a story, I used to be an HR business partner, so an HR manager in Amsterdam with Diageo. It's a company in spirits. And he asked me if I was interested to come to Jamaica. Now, Jamaica sounds very exotic. It sounds very honeymoon style. It's not where I lived. I lived in Kingston, very volatile. But I thought, wow, this is amazing. I mean, to go to a different culture, to understand how to impact people in different cultures and help people grow. It can also help me grow. It's a mega challenge as well, I can tell you. But this will stretch me. And it will give me something, not up, but actually something new that I can't do yet. Do training programs, do coaching, do mentoring, help people grow in a very different culture. I studied culture as part, I'm a psychologist, studied culture as part of my learning. Going there, very different. So I went there for a year. It was a big challenge and I loved it.
It's interesting because, we keep hearing the same thing about Ilja saying that he loves challenges.
Yeah.
It's almost like he has personally replaced titles, money, right, recognition in exchange for growth, personal growth, challenges. It's like the more challenges, it's for him, it's like the signal of progression.
Yeah.
And you are building something for the future, right?
Yeah.
You're building yourself, you're building your experiences, you're solving more complex problems, you're building a storyline for yourself. And that really, I guess, it's one of the most important things for people who don't want to climb,
Yeah.
but then they're wondering, how else should I grow?
Yeah.
Right.
But I do want to ask for those who might be different from Ilja,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Those who don't put so much worth in personal growth. To them, a job is a job is a job,
Yeah.
right? Is this still a viable path for them?
Yeah.
Or is this really just for those who want that challenge? You know, because I can think of a fair few people who do not want the challenge that we're talking about right now.
Most people, right? Because we are all change. We are all there's a lot of inertia to change.
Yeah.
We want to be in a comfort zone.
Yeah.
I remember reading some news articles about how Singaporeans don't really want to venture outwards.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Going to Jamaica, right? For example, how many
Yeah.
Singaporeans would want to take on that
Yeah.
challenge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, first of all, I love challenge,
Yes.
but I also had a bottom line.
Mm.
And the bottom line is I knew that I wanted to grow upwards.
Mhm.
And there's nothing wrong with wanting to grow upwards. Why did I want to grow upwards, by the way? It was not necessarily for pay. It's nice to have pay because it means you can buy new shoes, you can do nice things. But for me, the pay itself is not a driver. But what is a driver for me is to help influence and transform. I love transformation
Impact
and
we're talking.
impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, if I've got a region or a global role, I can have impact. If I've got a country role, I can also have impact. But the driver for me is impact. So I think different people, different drivers.
Right.
What is important is to step back and understand your driver. That is where I would start. I've worked with a lot of people who said, actually, oh, I love it. You're very passionate. I'm not like you. I don't want these challenges. I'm actually happy with what I do.
Yeah.
That's good. Traditionally, organizations are focused upwards. But I think there's two types of career paths, and both are equally valuable. And one is broad. People with broad potential, people those are the people who will be very fast in new situations to give back, to be impactful. They love a variety of experiences, and they probably need a variety of experiences because otherwise they're going to get very bored. Broad potential very often leads to people in managing director roles, CEOs. This is the kind of roles. And unfortunately, in many organizations, those are the people who get a lot of emphasis.
Right.
Now, the other part is about depth potential. And depth potential, I mean going deep. And this is very, very important. You need people who really understand core processes. So for instance, when I worked in a alcohol company, people who actually really understand the formula, who are master blenders of whiskey. Those are the most difficult jobs to have and to replace, and very well paid.
Yeah.
Any company, I work in a technical engineering company today, the most hard people to replace are those who've got years and years of experience, are the scientists, are the engineers, are the architects. It's very important. In an organization, equally both are valid. And I think when we talk about careers, and in this podcast about people thinking about their own career, I think you need both experiences. Early in their career, I would advise people, try to go very broad. Have an experience here, even if you could change functions. Don't just work in finance. Try and work in a much more commercial environment or in an innovation role, maybe even in HR. So have a full understanding of an organization. Can help you later on because you become more valuable for an employer, but also for yourself to understand where you can impact.
I hear three things, right? That Ilja is saying. The first one is, of course, going with a broad base of learning experiences. So learn broadly. And then after that, another driver for your career could be mastery. You're trying to build up some skill sets, become a specialist, really deep specialist in a certain area.
Right.
And then the last one, of course, is to have this mindset of challenges, like trying to solve problems, more complex problems, creating impact. So these could be drivers beyond title or promotion or even pay. I mean, if I recall back the conversations I've had with many people as well, I hear this very often, right? Like the job pays well, I'm just been promoted, job pays well, but I don't see growth. It's like people want some form of other growth, but they're not seeing how the growth can be, and they're limited by just promotions.
Joel, I agree. If I can build on that with an example, in my early days, I was working in IKEA and I must have been around 27. And I had a big dream. I was living in the Netherlands, where I'm originally from, and I had this big idea. I want to live outside of the Netherlands one day. And I spoke to a very senior manager who was coaching me. He's from Sweden, but he lived in Qingdao in China. I said, oh, I want to do what you do. And he said, really, this is great. Let me ask you this question. Why would anyone hire you here? Why would they bring out a Dutch person to China why would they pay you more than someone locally?
Mm.
In other words, what is the value you'll bring?
Right. Identifying what makes you unique and what
Yes.
an employer cannot get from just some other worker.
Yes, and that's experiences. And
Yeah.
for some of us, to your earlier question, Ned, for some of us, it might be that we want to be a leader.
Mm-hmm.
It can also be, I want to be, with the example of the spirits company, I want to be this master blender
Yeah.
or this biggest engineer. Or the key is, how am I really good at what I'd like to do? And the other point, what I would give people as a career advice, go where the action is.
Mm-hmm.
This is interesting. Many people here in Singapore told me, oh, I want to be a director. I said, okay, that's good. What we need in our organization to be a very successful director is that you understand the enterprise, that you understand global leadership. How to learn that is not just by sitting on a chair behind a computer, it's by going out. Could be a project, could be a stint of 1, 2, 3 years, but go where the action is.
Mm-hmm.
Many people want to go these days to the UK or want to go to Australia. For our business, where's the action? It's in India and it's in China. This is where we grow. This is where most opportunity exists for many companies. Are you prepared to go there or to Vietnam for a few years? Are you prepared to take a step back, maybe in salary or in security? If I ask this to people, many people start nodding less. They actually start looking a little bit
Worried.
pale, worried.
Yeah, you're
And that's-
shaking them a little bit more.
And you know what? That's okay. So the leader I can, want, and need to be, if my wants, if my values, if my energy is not there, that's fine. The consequence may be that your growth upways or sideways is not as fast. My example, I went to Jamaica. The place that I went to is not popular.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people said, no thanks. It helped me later on to fast track some things because I had the experience. I've been there, working there, came back. And so it's about choices.
Right.
And but it's my storyline, and everyone can build their own storyline in career, but always build in passion and do it according to your values. This is the importance.
Yeah. Ilja, in Singapore, you already mentioned we are quite a pragmatic society, and there's a lot of commitments here. What you shared is fantastic, right? But if today I were to speak from people who are having kids, having caregiving duties, and then they are thinking, they're listening to this, right? What might you say to them? Because what you shared might seem a little bit harder for them to move to Jamaica, for example.
First of all, you don't need to move to Jamaica to experience life. There's many
Thank
places.
goodness,
Opportunities across the world.
everywhere.
You know what? I love that. Because someone said, oh, you're in Singapore, there's so much opportunity there. You know what? Opportunity is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
First thing is, like I just said, go where the action is. Action is in Singapore, but action is also in Ho Chi Minh. It's also in Delhi. It's in many places. But you go there and pick up the experiences. Be prepared for it. That's one. The other one is to go back really and think, what is my driver? I had a very easy youth, and I think sometimes the problem in Singapore is our level of wealth, the standards are high, the education is high. Why would I move to a hardship? Why would I move to a place that is very volatile
Yeah.
if it helps me grow? If it really helps me grow and that's what I want, yes. But the opposite sometimes can be, as a driver, it can stall people a bit, or actually say, well, I'm not really prepared to do that now. But then afterwards, they also complain that they don't grow further into higher roles.
Yeah.
So I think it's to be very mindful about it. In my youth, I had a quite easy youth until the age of 10, and then my parents separated, and I've gone from a quite well-to-do family to knowing what it is not to have a lot. And for me, that was a main driver. How do I have my self-control? How do I steer myself and create the career that I like? So for me, that is a driver. We all have those stories that we tell. So I'd say to the listeners and to the watchers, think about your story. What is the driver? And there's certain decisions you'll need to make. And sometimes that means getting yourself out of your comfort zone, going out there. And do that for a few years. Test it. What is there to lose?
Yeah.
Nothing. Probably you're going to gain from it.
Yeah.
I like that you talked about it being, your story, because everyone has their own story, right? But sometimes you telling your story to someone else who has to understand why you made certain decisions in your career is just as important to make sure that your story keeps going, right? For example, when I took a step back after becoming a manager, I made some career moves to certain places that people would question. People would be like, why this company? You were at this level and now you're going down to this level. And so I found it hard to really explain my motivations. Is there a way, if someone were to follow our advice on this podcast, make some side steps and some steps back, that they could explain this to a potential employer?
I interview a lot of people, whether it's leaders, whether it's specialists, at regional level, sometimes global level. What I'd be looking for in candidates is always how self-aware are they? Most important, anyone can be a leader. Leader is not difficult. Do they really want it? When it comes to career, what is their ambition? And not just hiring for this step one, but how do they see themselves further? And if they don't see themselves further, but they're very aware of it and they want to grow with the speed of the organization, for certain roles, that's perfect. What I'd look for is how sound is their self-awareness linked to their story that they're telling. And that is more important. So again, it's what can I make out of it? What can I learn out of it? How can I make it my own?
I think it reminds me of something that I used to tell people as well, keep telling people as well, about where meaningfulness of work comes from. It doesn't drop from the sky. It's what you create out of it. Your own situation, being able to see the value you can bring, and being able to connect with that personally. And so when people ask you, like, why do you do this? Why do you make this change? Right? You're able to see as meaningful to yourself. And being able to say that to someone else, they may or may not understand it. But you know your own motivations for doing this. You're in charge of your own storyline.
I was probably not a born leader. Someone asked me one day, why don't you want to become a leader? And actually I didn't know. And I thought about it. I've very often been asked by my coaches in my life, my leaders, my mentors, just people around me. They ask me, what do you really want? Do you want to become the CHRO, the biggest HR leader? Do you want to go out of HR? Do you want to become the biggest specialist, centers of excellence, the biggest talent leader? Honestly, I can't answer that question. I still can't. Very often people ask me, but I like everything. I've got a great team here in Asia Pacific. It's quite a large team in different countries. I love leading that team to unlock, to see how I can impact. So for me, the impact, the transformation is what I love doing, and I love working with people. So it's amazing. So for me, it doesn't translate necessarily in being a leader or being a specialist. It can be anything, but the most important is I love what I do.
Yes, you obviously sound like you love what you do, because everything to you is something that you can grow in. It doesn't matter
opportunity.
It doesn't matter whether you're on top or at the bottom, as long as you're getting the job done.
Or at least 80% of my day. Because of course there's Excel, there's other pieces where you think, but you know how you can use it to drive change, or how you can use it in your presentation. So it is understanding how you can use it in service of things you really, really like.
This part about knowing what you like to do and what you're good at doing, it requires a really very deep and honest look, which sometimes can be very scary.
It can be, yes.
Like when you ask the average man on the street, like, what are you good at doing? Like, what are your skills, and what are you interested in? I think most people would struggle to answer that confidently. They may fall back on their job title or their job description to explain themselves, but like what Ilja was saying, right? We really need to take one step back, be very honest with ourselves, get past the discomfort of evaluating whatever we have been doing for our career. If you work 30 years, then you got to unpack 30 years worth of experiences. So you better do it sooner.
Right. I'll tell you a little secret. The good thing about working in HR and leadership development and talent is that you get a lot of access to people, up to the CEO. We very often think that he or she will have the answer to all these kind of hard questions. People in the vice president role, in the board, they'll know the answer to all these questions. Guess what? Everyone is struggling with these similar questions about the leader they can, want, and need to be. Thinking about these questions very early on and making that in a mantra. It doesn't have to be that you sit for 5 days locked on your attic by yourself doing soul searching. You can, but I probably would go crazy. You can also just take half an hour a week. If you are talking with your manager, you don't need to wait until once a year when you got your development conversation. Do it every month. Talk for 5 or 10 minutes after a meeting and say, hey, how did you see me perform? Hey, I actually like to develop this. Can you give me feedback? Ask your teammates around you. It is building it into a mantra. If growth is what you like, and don't think about growth only as going upwards, but actually sideways, broad, going depth, and really building skill at what you really like. I think the future will less and less be about role titles. You already see that. It's going to be much more about skills and experience. And again, the unique value you bring is a collection, a set of your unique skills, your values, your experiences, which you bring to a role.
So for people who maybe have chosen to master their specific role as opposed to becoming a manager, as opposed to going broad, we know that in some places like the beer company, those people are remunerated very well.
Yeah.
But it might not be the case across industries, right? So if we are looking at some industries that are still catching up with this more enlightened point of view for remuneration of talent, is there a way that these specialists can try to negotiate for a better pay or better salary from their managers without having to step into a managerial role, without having to take the traditional promotion route for their career?
Not in the next 5 seconds and not always in the next 5 minutes.
Okay.
I think what is important is to think where you're going to get the most value. So if money is your driver, that's the assumption you're making here. If money is your biggest driver, what do we pay most for? It's uniqueness, right? If you look at society, you don't have to be a big leader. You need to bring something unique that other people don't bring.
Yeah.
So if you're today in a job and think, this job in logistics, customer services, you name it, is not giving me the pay I like, it's not the life I like, it's not the career I like, what I then would first of all advise you, and that's not going to be a 4-minute fix, but is to first of all start thinking, where do I want to invest my time and my energy? So if my ladder is against a wall, that wall is a company and a career. If I'm climbing a ladder, but that ladder is not against the wall that I like to be climbing, you're probably not going to climb it very much because you're going to be distracted, be disappointed. I love this expression, you become a sleepwalker. You turn up in the office at 9.
Quiet quitter.
Quiet quitter, silent quitter. You leave at 5. So is anyone going to promote you? Is anyone going to say, wow, this Ilja, he did such a great job. Let's get him to become our next leader, our next boss? No. But it also starts by thinking, what is it that I really want to invest my time in? Because it's going to take time with you and energy. What is the direction I want this to go? So if I work today as a logistics coordinator and I'm not enjoying it, my advice would be spend time, take a Saturday, start writing out, what is it that I can and can't? What is it that I like and dislike? This question about leadership, the leader that I can, want and need to be. A leader, everyone is a leader. So what is the ownership I'm prepared to make, my purpose? Start by drafting that out. And if you don't fix it at once, take another weekend, take another day, take another minute. Once it starts touching you, once it becomes non-negotiable, once it makes you emotional or passionate, then you know you're on the right track. Talk to a career coach, good investment. There's many around, but find what you really like.
Yeah.
And then go for it. Of course, it's possible. The moment you start doing what you really like, you'll see you ignite your candle inside of you. Ignite your passion, and passion with delivery in the right spot is what gets paid.
So what I'm hearing is to decide your own route to career progression, whether it is promotions, whether it's taking a sidestep into a different industry, into a different job in the same seniority or rank, or even taking a step back to look at your career with some distance.
Yeah.
Right.
For me, the takeaway is really, if I were to summarize, the key takeaway would be, it's not just about growing upwards, but it's about growing inwards.
Yes.
It's a lot of deep work that needs to be growing, and when you have done the growing inwards, sometimes it produces the growing upwards as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's a very good note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us, Ilja. And yeah, it was great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you very much.
Hello and welcome back to our Ask Work It segment. If you have a question that you are struggling with at work and you don't know who to turn to, why not leave a comment wherever you're listening from, and maybe the two of us can help you out. Today's question was sent in by our listener, Joshua. Now, Gerald, Joshua has made a mistake at work which affected his team.
Okay.
And this mistake has set the team back, but they were able to recover from it.
Okay.
The problem is now Joshua is worried that his manager doesn't trust him anymore and his confidence is shaken.
So it almost sounds like he's not able to recover.
A little bit more Joshua not being able to recover than the team or his manager being able to recover. It seems like he has more of confidence issues.
Yeah.
And he's wondering, is there a way that he can bounce back after making this mistake?
Yeah. I mean, when I just listen to this, it doesn't seem like there's a problem anymore. The mistake, and maybe I'm coming from a place where mistakes are very common.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot avoid mistakes. You just have to take them as they come along. Of course, you have to be careful and you have to do your due diligence, but you kind of need to know that when mistakes happen, sometimes due to you or due to the circumstances, you just need to manage it, mitigate it as quickly as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
And what would you say is the first step that you would take if you were in Joshua's position?
I think for making restitution, saying
Mhm.
sorry, and quickly working with the team to resolve the issue, right?
Right.
Rather than cover up. I'm seeing people who cover up mistakes,
Mhm.
and I tell you that's the worst thing you can ever do,
Right.
right? I won't go into specifics, but there were times where the team found out that the mistake was made like 6 months ago.
Oh,
And
6 months is a long
yes,
time.
and we literally had skeletons in the closet
Oh
to
my
kind of
gosh.
manage, right? So when making a mistake, don't cover up
Mhm.
as best as possible. Speak to somebody, maybe your supervisor or somebody on the team that you trust, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, what do I do? How do I go and
Mm.
apologize or rectify this as soon as possible?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's something that I like to do when I make a
Mm-mm.
mistake, right? Whenever I make a mistake, I immediately address it, not just because I need someone's help to fix it, but because maybe for myself, I need to air it out. I need to let go of the tension in my shoulders, that I make a mistake and I am at fault for something.
Mm.
And also sometimes maybe somebody who I'm speaking to can give me a solution that I might not have thought of in addressing whatever problem still lies in the wake, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that I found is helpful for me.
Yeah.
But obviously, there are going to be some people who are a bit shy to own up to things, right?
Yeah.
Is there a way that Joshua can help people go past this?
Yeah, I think after you kind of made the first step to try to mitigate the issue, and then maybe let the team know how it's being how the situation is being managed,
Mm-hmm.
uh, owning up to the mistake. I think it's a really good step forward already. Then later on, I guess don't dwell too much on that mistake already. Start to move forward by contributing more to the team. Making sure that you perform and you're more careful the next time. So some of these things will take you to move forward, right?
Mm.
But sometimes we do see people, I met people before that they can't because what happens then, and could be Joshua's situation, is that there's a disappointment in themselves.
Right.
They don't trust themselves anymore. The
Mm.
team and the boss is like, everything's okay, but they themselves can't get over the mistake that they made.
Right.
So sometimes I guess it's the expectations. Think it's important to also forgive yourself for having made a mistake and to just realize that in life people make mistakes.
Yeah, and it's something that everyone has to go through. Actually, speaking of this, it seems like Joshua is quite inexperienced, right?
Mm.
But for, let's say, his colleagues who might be a little bit more experienced and they are listening to this now and realizing, oh no, Joshua is in trouble and it's of his own making. Is there anything that they can do to help Joshua get past this himself? Or is it
Yeah.
really his own journey and he's got to take on it?
I think secretly everybody, when they see someone else making a mistake, they'll just go like, "Wow, thankfully it's not me." I think that's the most common reaction. But
Mhm.
when you see a colleague making a mistake, maybe start to find out like how can you help,
Mhm.
encourage them, maybe provide a solution like what you mentioned, right? Provide a solution and share your own experiences with them on how things could be better, how to rectify those situations, especially if you have been in those situations before.
Mm.
I think that support is important. I don't know, like for you, if today you make a mistake,
Yeah.
how would you want your colleagues to support you?
Well, it depends on the mistake, right? Because some mistakes are easy to rectify. Some mistakes have the solution laid out for them already, like the protocols in place. And so for those mistakes, you just kind of need someone who is able to commiserate with you. You just tell them, wow, bro, I really, I didn't realize this, that. And they can be like, I've done that myself.
Mm.
It's really not a big deal and all that.
Mm.
But there are some mistakes in which you want someone to come with solution first, right? You have no idea how to fix this. Nobody has ever done this mistake before. So in some ways, innovation, but you need someone to come in and say, okay, I think we can try this.
Mm.
I think we can try that. Put emotions aside for a minute. So there's a little bit of identifying who the right person is to go to with your mistake so that you can faster fix the problems that are still there.
Yeah, I agree that commensuration is important because it helps you to feel like you're not the only one who made a mistake.
Yeah.
All right, because in the work front, everybody looks like they're performing well. You see, nobody wants to show that they're weak or they made a mistake. So this is really, really important to help someone to recover. But of course, if you're a person who keeps making mistakes,
That's a whole different story already.
I think you'll find that your colleagues are the support for you getting lesser and lesser.
Yeah, definitely. So for Joshua, I guess, speak to your colleagues, right? Speak to your colleagues, speak to your manager. It seems like this is a you thing, we could be wrong, but definitely try to forgive yourself before asking for forgiveness.
Process the situation, ask yourself, what went wrong and what would you have done differently? What would you do differently the next time around? I think those are conversations, internal conversations you can have with yourself, with a mentor,
Yes.
with a important other partner in your life, important people in your life, your family. I think talking about this helps you to realize that mistakes are just part and parcel of life and learning.
Exactly. So I feel like that's a good note to end on. So if you listening, like Joshua, have a work-related dilemma, why not write to us? We are at cnapodcast@mediacorp.com.sg.
I'm Gerald.
And I'm Nat. Don't let your mistakes at work define you. How you respond to them matters so much more.